So good morning. Let's continue discussing nature of quantitative research, lesson 2, types of quantitative research. So good day class. Our objective for today is to identify the different types of quantitative research, explain the characteristics of each type of quantitative research, apply the type of quantitative research to different fields. So there are three main research design in quantitative research. So quantitative and mixed method design. Okay? So quantitative research is defined as a means of testing objective theories by examining the relationship among the variables. So if we talk about quantitative, this is testing of two variables. Okay? Variable 1, variable 2, a chair or a table. Okay? So in general, quantitative research focuses on the following: collection of observable and measurable data, collection of observable measured data, standardized data collection instrument, and statistical techniques and data analysis. Okay, collection of observable and measurable data. If you gather a research, if it is a quantitative, okay, so this is collection of what you observe, okay, collection of what you observe through standardized data instrument. What is a data instrument? A data instrument is maybe a form of a survey questionnaire. Okay? A survey questionnaire. And it depends upon also what type of statistical techniques you're going to use. There's a lot. Okay? If you already have let's say a subject statistics, so you question your teacher what are those types of statistical techniques that can be used on a research. Okay? Correlational and causal research. Quantitative research may either be correlational or causal. A correlational research involves identifying relationship between the two variables. A correlation is a statistical measure of association between the two variables. Kinahanglan, associated siya sa duha. Okay? A correlational research may look at the following. Okay, take note on this. Whether an association exists between the two variables, whether it's either of the two, related silang duha, the magnitude of the existing association between the two variables, the size of the two, okay, the size, how it is being related, the size of it, the direction, the association between the two variables, the direction, the output. Example. An example of a correlational research is looking at the relationship between hours of sleep and test scores. Based on the main focus points of correlational research, the following results are possible. So there are two possible results. There is no relationship between hours of sleep and test scores. That's one. Wala sila related. Or, okay, related ang test scores to the hours of sleep. Okay? No relationship between the test scores sa pagtulog, or higher test scores nga nakuha sa usa ka student sa iyang pagtulog. Okay? Although it is not exclusive to the field, correlational research is often used in quantitative research, in the social sciences, in psychology. Different types of correlational research are used to look at patterns and associations of human behavior. An example is looking at whether there is an association between the number of hours a student spend on social media or his per academic performance. So, maybe na ay related ang duha or wala siya related ang duha. Nga naman, maybe natulog siya sa iyo pero iyang kuha gamay. Kaya nga naman, there's another variable, another factor. Wa siya magtuon. Okay? Or natulog siya og sayo para ma-fresh iyang mind para makakuha siya og highest score. Plus, another variable came in which is nagtuon siya. Okay? But our example does not have a study variable. Okay? So, in economics, correlational research may also be used to determine what affects or is affected by a certain economic variable. For example, foreign exchange rate and credit rating to a particular country. So, exchange rate, taas. So, ang economic rate sa country mo, ubos, nga naman, taas naman kayo ang dollar. Iyahang value sa money, gamay man. Okay? Another one, it's on the politics. Correlational, it's maybe not related in this example. Kaya nga naman, nabay related ang highest crime rate between the crime rate and the number of votes politician gathered during the election. Related sila. Okay? Related sila kay nga no, crime rate and the votes. Maybe ang crime rate na happen during the voting of the election. Kaya nga naman, basig naiguns ba, no? Ipugos siya pag-vote anak. So related siya. Pero kung if we talk about variable, crime rate of votes, dili siya related, di ba? Crime rate siya. Votes, garnered votes of politician. Related, dili. Pero if you are talking about correlational research, mag-research ka nga, ang kining crime rate, mutaas yun kung naay election. Okay? So another variable is the election. So, while correlational quantitative research can determine whether a relationship exists between the two variables, it does not say that one variable causes the other. Take note, ha? Whether a relationship exists between two variables, it does not say that one variable causes the other. Okay? This latter type of quantitative research is called causal research. Kung dili mo affect ang usa ka variable to another variable, it called causal variable or causal research. If this variable affected to this variable, meaning correlational sila. Our causal research looks at causes and effects. Okay? Causation refers to the claim that the change in one variable creates a change in another variable. An example of causal research is looking at the cause and effects relationship between a food ingredients and the rate of decay of a food example. So, naa siya continuous effect ang usa ka variable o continue ang effect niya to another variable. If different from correlational, pareha gid siya og effect. Okay? Go hand in hand ang correlational. Pero ang causal, dili. Okay? Continuous ang iyang effect. One variable continues to the other variable. Okay? A possible research study based on this example can examine how an additional unit of food ingredients or cost leads to the faster decay of the food example, which is effect. So ang causal has a cause and effect. Okay? Similar to correlational research, causal research is also applicable in different fields. Causal research is often used in studying natural science. Okay? And correlational, it's more on social, and causal is more on natural science. But it is not exclusive to this field. Dili siya exclusive lang para diya. For example, in chemistry, causal research is applied in the conduct of chemical experiments to see whether a change in the quantity of one substance affects the characteristics of another substance. Okay? Quality of one substance affects the characteristic of another substance. So, continuous cause and effect. So, types of quantitative research. There are two main types of quantitative research based from the survey and the experimental research. So, according to Creswell in 2009, a survey research provides a quantity or quantitative or numerical description of trends, attitudes, or opinions of a population. So, mag-survey research ganita, okay? Trends, attitudes, opinions of a population. On the other hand, experimental research tests the impact of a treatment or an intervention of one outcome, controlling all other factors that might influence that outcome. Okay, ang experimental, it's very difficult. Why? Sample, ha? In a computer, okay, we know that there's the first release of a computer is a Pentium 1. It goes by, no? So, na-release Pentium 2, Pentium 3, Pentium 4, Pentium 5, Pentium 6, 7, 8, 9. Ang karon, ang last, it's 9. Okay? So, unsay difference ano niya? That's cause and effect. That is experimental. Ano? Pentium 1 or computer 1, it's on the processing 1. Ano nagitawag na ito Pentium 1? It's, ang processing niya is good for pang-offices lang. And there's another, here is another company introduces graphics design, okay? Sa pa, logo creation, what else? 3D, not 3D, 2D, no? So, the processing has a new version. Kaya hinay man ang processing 1, so you go to processing 2, which is for that particular application. Now, what is trend for today? It's more on gaming, right? So, pag abot sa 3D, release siya o Pentium 3, Pentium 4, Pentium 5, right? So, nagkataas, pero that Pentium 1 is processing based from Pentium 9, 8, 7, 6, ana, based on that particular processing. Okay? Okay, another example, experimental. So may another example, it's a bread. Okay? So you have only a bread. Ang ingredients, ana, sa may ingredients, maybe 1/2 or 3/4 lang ana ang ingredients. Pag upon mixing, upon cooking the bread, how long, okay, how long dili siya madaot, okay, or gahi ba, how long na mugahi ang bread, because some breads magdugay, bugahi, magbato, di ba? So, iya itong i-change ang iyahang mixture. So, that is experimental changing of mixture so that the output, based from the first output, it's different. So, nagkausab. So, ang texture, nagkausab sad, right? So, let's go to donut. One example is a donut. Who likes Jekyll? Who likes Krispy Kreme? Okay, in my part, I like Krispy Kreme. Why? When you put the donut in the refrigerator, ang unang mugahi, ang Jekyll kaysa Krispy Kreme. Okay? Paabta siya o 3 days. That's experimental na. You can buy Jekyll, you can buy Krispy Kreme. Paabta siya o 3 days. Okay? Kuha sa ref. Now, try to bite the Jekyll. Coming from the ref, ha? Coming from the ref. Bite it. It's a gahi. The Jekyll or ang Krispy Kreme. Okay? So, depende na sa iyang mixture. So, the mixture of Jekyll is different from the mixture of Krispy Kreme. Especially the mixture of Dunkin' Donut, lahit sa siya. Lahit sa siya of mixture. Okay? So, both types of quantitative research draw findings by studying a sample population. Both types of quantitative research use statistical techniques to process and analyze the information acquired from their representative data collection techniques. Okay, let's go to the survey research. A survey research is a correlational type of quantitative research. This design makes use of a survey as its main data collection tool. So according to Newman in 2014, the survey is the most widely used social science data gathering techniques. The content of a survey corresponds to the objects or concepts who or whose correlations are being analyzed. So, sa ato ang research din sa Philippines, more on the survey, especially kana mga doctoral, masteral, no? Survey na siya. Later on, I will show you one example of a survey question or one survey questionnaire. Okay? Survey research has the following main components stated by Criswell in 2009 and Newman in 2014. A survey design has two main types. Okay? Cross-sectional survey and a longitudinal survey. Sabi niya siya, ang cross-sectional survey acquires information at one point in time. A longitudinal survey acquires information at multiple points in time to compare, contrast, and assess changes in responses. I indicated here an example. Okay? For example, researchers from a government agency on population research are conducting a cross-sectional survey on the number of senior citizens from age 60 years old and above in its household within a specific area. To proceed, they will collect responses from the households at the single period of time during the whole month of January on a given year. So, mo na siya cross-sectional. Okay? So, naka-survey question in one house, you go there, you let's say, you give a questionnaire based from that, who are those 60 years old and above. So, after gathering from maybe one barangay, so they can determine now how many person age of 60 and above. Okay? Cross-sectional survey. On the other hand, this example of a cross-sectional survey becomes a longitudinal survey when the representatives return to the household to collect the same kind of responses, number of senior citizens every year for 5 years. By looking at longitudinal data, the researchers will be able to compare and contrast whether the number of senior citizens increases or decreases during the 5 years period. So, kung mayroon ka cross-sectional, it's kana lang diha. Okay? During that year. Okay? January or a given year. Kana lang a month January, month of February. So they gather that information based on the months. Longitudinal, it depends upon what type of survey you are conducting. Here, on our example, we have January, the number of all ages, okay, 60 years old, pila ka buok in that barangay. Now, longitudinal, if this barangay, pila every month, okay, muhatag na sila questionnaire every quarter, or every 3 months, or every 6 months, muhatag sila o, let's say, survey for 1 year, then another survey for another year. So for 5 years, tanaw na niya nga ni-increase ba, okay? For 1 year, ni-increase ba ang mga senior citizen? Another year, increase ba ang senior citizen? Another year. Then 5 years, they go to statistical survey, another form of computation. So ilan ang average? What is the average of the 60 years old and above to this particular years? From 1 year, pila may 61, pila 60, 65, and so on and so forth. That is cross-sectional and longitudinal survey. Population and sample. A survey research involves getting a sample from a population. A population is a general group of people with similar or diverse characteristics. An example is a subgroup of a population that is chosen either randomly or purpositively to participate in the survey research. Okay? For example, a survey research will be conducted in a class of senior high school students for a purpose of testing the relationship between after-school activity and the student performance. Okay? So, ang imuhang survey is school activity and the student performance. These are two variables. The population is the whole number of senior citizen school students, and the sample is chosen subgroup within the population, like males only, females only, from which responses will be collected. Okay? So this example, brother, okay, for population, pilay, in one high school, pila may male, pila may female. Okay? You can also conduct pilay age. Okay? Kaya na may uban na senior high, taas-taas na o grado. Age. Okay? But in your example is the population. Atong example, population. Pila may population, it's sa male. And pila population sa female. Okay? Another one, survey instruments. The survey instruments, otherwise known as the questionnaire, is the main data collection tool for a survey research. It contains closed-ended questions with fixed answers that will be given to the selected sample. The responses of the participants will be used in analyzing the relationship of interest. So according to Newman, in 2014, survey questions may belong to the following categories: behavior, how frequent do you use social media applications? Behavior, attitudes, belief, opinions. Example, what do you think about animal therapy? Okay? Characteristics, like what is your highest educational attainment? That's characteristics. Expectations, do you plan to visit a coffee shop in the next 2 weeks? Expectation. So you can create a survey on that. Self-classification, like, do you consider yourself social aware of current events and issues? So, you can ask question on that. Knowledge, who is your student council batch representative that is knowledgeable, no? So, knowledgeable ba siya? Kinsay president, like kinsay class presidents. Okay? Kinsay SSG president. O Benedicto. Pilay, average ana. So you are going to create a questionnaire. You send the questionnaire to the students, all senior high students. So if you gather all that information, then compute that information, maybe less, who knows, and yes, more knows about who are those student council representative. Okay, based from that, survey instruments. Okay, just like we did, who likes, kinsa may ganahan mo online, kinsa may ganahan mo module. Okay, so natay survey ana. Then we gather information. Okay, data analysis and interpretation. A data analysis and interpretation plan is also part of the survey design. Analysis may either be descriptive or inferential. A descriptive analysis provides a general report of the results of the survey, which may include frequencies or average scores. An inferential analysis makes comparison among the survey results to establish and explain relationships. Okay, in this particular data class, you have what we call data analysis. Okay, data analysis. On that survey, you have to expound what is inside the table. Okay, so you have to explain, like example, in this particular result, based from survey number blank, number one, garner 25% from 100%, state that student knows who are those representative, SSG representative, then let's say students who under the age of states only this percentage. So you are going to explain, that is data analysis. Okay? Experimental research. Experimental research is a type of quantitative research aimed at causation, using the cause and effect logic. An experimental research looks at whether the application of a treatment, otherwise known as intervention, cause and effects on a sample being experimented on Criswell 2009 and Levy 2017. Okay? Ingon si Criswell and Levy, that's experimental, it's an intervention. And experimental research has the following main components according to Criswell again and Levy. And that's this time it includes Newman from 2009, 2017, and 2014. Participants. Okay? Main components of experimental participants. Participants in an experimental research are called groups. Samples are selected and then differentiated into groups. There are two main groups of participants in experimental research: experimental group and control group. What is experimental group? The group which receives the experimental treatment or intervention, or a control group, the group that does not receive the experimental treatment or intervention. A group may still be part of the experimental research in order to assess similarities or differences with the results drawn from experimental group. Okay, when we do experimental research, na siya experimental group and control group. Ang experimental group katong involved sa experiment, katong like example students involved na siya gihatagan og experiment, and those non-experimental group pero appeal siya sa research. Okay? That mo control siya sa experiment research in order to assess similarities or differences. Like example, we have a research conducted, okay? You have a research conducted like who's let's say ano na lang. Okay, ano na lang. Kinsa may daghang makatunan ang dili mo gamit og computer based from mathematical equation or mo gamit og computer na mag-base og sa mathematical equation. So computer-based and then computer-based. So maghimo siya og group. They are going to create one group of students, like maybe 15 students or 10 students. Ibutang niya sa usa ka class. Okay? Yan, ang usa ka class, ibutang niya dito 10 or 15 students na po at sa laboratory. So the teacher will conduct a research on that. And this, naapod siya different types of kanang mga partners, no? So, i-conduct niya, mag-discuss siya, what is being discussed by non-experimental or experimental group, no? Mag-discuss siya about sa let's say mathematical equation, no? Sa classroom, and then mag-discuss po siya. Sa i-discuss niya sa classroom mo, siya i-discuss niya sa laboratory. But ang iyang gigamit is paper, okay? And calculator. Ang kini is computer ang iyang gigamit. So, asa may mas dali? Buhaton. Okay? So, yan ang Tagalog survey. Okay? In my case, I created or I made an experimental research based on if the students begin, okay, if my students begin with, let's say, none, okay, a teaching of the basic lesson on web page making, and this one on the other side is teaching the basic, okay, teaching the basic components of web page creation. So, ang dito nga nako, okay, separate one group. One month discussion of non-basic, computer-based directly, ha? Computer-based. Gamit sila computer in making a website. So, dali na human. Okay? Okay. Here. Now, sa usa, conducting a lesson, a basic lesson on the web page, basic lesson are the components or the components and so on and so forth. This one is more direct. Components is the same, but the usage is different. This one is basic from basic, okay, from let's say mura siya written, then computer. Kini diretso o computer. Okay. Now, I made the point that this lesson is the same as this lesson. The usage of this is different, but the usage of this is different. Now, when I joined them together, and then I intendedly cut the power off from their computer, and then I say, okay, make a website based from your knowledge of how to create a website. Okay? So, noon sa man, ang katong gamit ng computer, walay na imo. Pero ang ginagamit o paper, automatic, they can draw, okay, the design, and then after the designing, they even write down all the scripts and tags of what should the website looks about. This one, wala, inahimo. Okay? Nga naman, it's siya kibaw say basic. Okay? That is experimental. So, in that particular result, it's better. In my case, it's better to start with the very basic foundation of making a website. Para later on, when they go to the corporations, the industries, apply sila. So, even though walay computer, they can do websites para madawat din sila. Kaysa tagaan mo computer, walay nabuhat kay nga naman. Hindi mo sa kumao. Kung sa'y basic. Okay? Dito man sila gamit ng computer diretso. Okay? That is one example. Variables. Variables, simply put, there are two main variables, no? In experimental research, under interaction constitutes the cause and effects relationship. These two main variables are the independent and dependent variable. Some are independent variables. This treatment variable, no? Ang independent is a treatment variable. It causes and explains the effect. The independent variable may be manipulated in order to change in the produced effects or changes in the produced effects. A dependent variable is the outcome variable. It is the effect, it is the response of the application or use of the independent variable. The independent variable may reflect different outcomes depending on the condition of the independent variable. So, kining independent, mo gid ni siya the main cause sa imuhang or the main, let's say, output. Okay? Mao na siya hinungdan sa imuhang gitagaan o kanang, let's say, research. Okay? Ang dependent, as my example, unsay mga ingredients ba, no? So magdepend siya sa dependent variable. Ang cause niya mugahi man siya, so magdepend siya unsay iyang i-mix. Kini kuan siya mo soften man, so this is the mixture. Okay? Experimental procedures differs according to which group is studied and the actions done with the groups. There are 4 main experimental procedures: pre-experimental design, a true experiment, quasi-experiment, and single-subject design. A pre-experimental design studies and provides an experimental intervention to a single experimental group. It does not make use of control group. Okay? Provides experimental intervention to a single experiment. Single lang. True experiment makes use of both experimental and control groups whose participants are randomly assigned. Variants of true experiments differ according to the participants of the experimental and control groups in different stages of procedures. For example, one type of true experiment has the experimental group participating in all stages: pre-test, actual intervention, and post-test. Another type, true experimental, only has the control groups participating in the pre-test and post-test stage but not in the actual intervention stage. Ang pre-experimental, single, okay, di siya mugamit sa control group. Okay, you know what they mean? What is control group, ha? Experimental and control group. Okay, so ang control group, experiment research in order to assess familiar differences. Okay, mo-assess siya, pero dili siya part sa gi-eksperimentuhan. Okay, dili siya part sa kanang mura siya o kanang dili siya involved sa gikandak. Involved siya sa gikandak pero dili siya maoy mismong appeal ba, no, sa experiment. So mo na siya ato ang pre-experiment lang siya pero wala siya involvement sa control group. Ang true experiment mo na ni siya, no, na siya pre-test, maybe a test prior to that lesson or a test prior to that particular let's say experiment, and then after that a post-test. Okay? Pagkahuman. Like, you can have a subject pre-test. Examon mo sa mong maestra. No? And then, after an exam, gagmay kayo magkuha. Mga 2, 3, 4, 5. No? Depende. And then, the teacher will explain to you the subject. And then, after explanation, they will conduct another test. That is the post-test. Okay? What you have learned. Kung na-learn. Okay? That is pre and true experiment. Quasi-experiment. Use both experimental and control group. It differs from a true experimental in that the participants of the quasi-experiment are not randomly assigned into groups. An example of a quasi-experiment is a medical research such as effect of a developing drug. A team gathered number of participants and purpositively assigned them into a control group and experimental group and engages this group into in the pre-test, actual intervention, and the post-test stages. So, quasi. Pareha karon, no? Vaccine. So, isagasa lang. So, naa kay involvement. So, para siya quasi. A single subject design only has a single individuals as the lone participants of the experiment. The experiment proceeds by observing the individual at different experimental stages and over time. Okay? So, that is experimental research. Stages of procedures. An experimental research may undergo three stages of procedures: pre-test stage, actual intervention stage, and the post-test stage. There are two main stages of procedures in between the actual intervention: the pre-test and the post-test. Okay, balo na tayo sa pre-test, prior to conduct the experiment, and we know what is post-test, conduct after the experiment independently. So the result of the post-test reflects whether there have been changes in the dependent variable based on the conduction or based on the conditions of the independent variable. Then the pre-test is there is no interaction yet between the variable of the students or between the variable of the experiment. So wala pa siya involvement. Exam pa ni. No? Exam mo. Sa maihang knowledge about X word, or what do you know what is how to create a chair on sa may mo experiment sa may imong knowledge about creating a chair. Yeah, pagkahuman i-explain mo, this is how to create a chair. No, this is a nail, this is how to saw, this is how to let's say assemble, and then automatically after that is involvement of the variable, and then after that you have a post test. So that question, what are nails? Nails are hard metal objects, no, and so on and so forth. How to assemble, draw or steps in how to assemble chairs. So step 1, blah blah blah, then that is a post test, you know. So pre-test result is different from post-test result. Pre-test result maybe is lower than the post-test result. Kaya nga naman, ang pre-test, wala may involvement. There's no involvement of the variable. But the post-test has already a involvement of the variable. Kay balon mo ka, no? Na naman kay knowledge about unsa ang imuhang research, unsa imuhang variables gikanda. Okay? Data analysis and interpretation, similar to survey research, results of an experimental research may be analyzed in a descriptive or influential manner. So it's the same, na parehara ang result sa atong non-experimental research. Na gihapon siya data analysis that interprets the result. What sets of experimental research apart from the survey research? Okay? So there are types of quantitative research being. Nako example of correlational and causal research. The two types of quantitative research, survey and experimental research, are those applicable in various fields and disciplines. Both survey and experimental research may be used in fields such as medicine, natural science, and social science and businesses. So I have here medicine, fields of study, medicine, chemistry, biology, psychology, politics, economics, culinary arts, and business. So I have here, it's either a sample application quantitative research, it's either a survey or an experimental. So on the medicine field, survey. When you conduct a research based on a survey, you have patient preference for consultation schedule. Medicine, that is survey. Patients, okay? Preferences. Okay? But on the experimental side, on a medicine, effectiveness of the vaccine. On experimental side it's either the doctor, it's what? Effective in his what? Consultation. So, experimental. Nga naman, there are different variables man in experimental, no? Lain-laing sakit. Okay? Variables, lain-laing sakit. So, ato po ka, mo survey sa design, no? Design nga, sickness and treatment. Effective ba? Kaya basig, uy, naman siya, di man pareha. Ang ihang, sige siya hatag nga medicine, pero dili effective. The same man. No? Uy, nihatag siya ani nga kuan, effective man. It's the same what we did on the DOH for COVID-19. Okay? Nga siya experimental. Most amongst other medicine, no, in the market today, effective antibacterial, antiviral medicine, effective ba sa COVID-19? That is why na kay daghang experiment, no? Okay? You have chemistry, and some survey most common chemical substance highly laboratory experiments. Ang imong experimental factors behind the speed of crystal formation. Let's go to economics, survey, level of income per household, ang experimental simulation of buy and sell trading. Okay? Economics, magyapon na. Let's go to business, survey, most preferred mobile phone brands. That's business, survey. Experimental, pilot study of a new business concept. Okay? Question clarification. Post it on the comment when I post this one on your teams. Okay? So now I have here an example of a survey research questionnaire. So based on the questionnaire, it has what? A direction. Okay? You have a title. Then you have the name. That name of the respondents. Actually, kulang siya, no? Wow, like dates. If you go to dates, put dates. But this questionnaire does not include dates. Okay? So, on the title, researcher made questionnaire on factors affecting mathematics performance of laboratory high school students at state. No? Let's say, state the school. Yeah. One, what is this questionnaire all about? So you have to state that one. Student-related factors. So who will answer this one? It's only the students, okay? Because student-related factors. So you have here A, instruction. Direction, please check, and relate yourself honestly based on what you actually do given the statement using the following scales. 5, always, often, sometimes, rarely, and never. So if you are going to use this type of let's say direction, so kinahanglan na kay maximum and minimum. Okay? Maximum and minimum. Go from maximum going down to the minimum area. And then you put what is your interest, what your study habits. Then you put 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 according to your ratings. And then you have your questions, and then now the students will check this one. What they prefer. Like I make myself prepared for the math subject. I listen attentively to the lecture of my math teacher. Okay? Now, on the second part of the questionnaire, you have teachers-related factors. Only teachers will answer this. Dili pwede ang student. Okay? Base sa imo ha is teachers-related factors. Direction. Please rate each item as to the extent desired that your mathematics teacher displays the following traits behavior using rates. Sorry. Appeal pa dahil student no? Teachers related for teachers na no? Student, sorry. Na-confuse ko na. Teacher, a student will answer all of this 1 and 2, no? But on this one, student related side, and this one, it's more on the teacher related side, no? About the teacher. This one, it's number 1 is about the student. Okay? So second, teacher skills by mathematics teacher, instructional so on. Then thank you very much for your cooperation. Then you put your researcher's name. Then this is your survey question. You got all of this? 30 persons or more. It depends upon the area. Unsa kadako ang imong area, unsa kadako ang broad, what is katong the broad area nga imong kuhaon, no? Pero mag-research gani ka, it's better gamay ra kay para mahuman dayon. Okay? Dili dagko kay imong ganahuna sa imong research. Okay? Some questions, clarifications, violent reactions. Post it on a question. Okay? You can throw me a question on the comment section. Now, I have activity 1 and activity 2 for lesson number 2. Okay? Activity 1 is individual and activity 2 is also an individual. Okay? So activity 1, based on your track and strand, list down two sets of relationship between two objects and or phenomena. Okay? So I have two questions only to be answered in activity 1, and I have several questions also on activity 2. Okay? I will be posting the Word file to your assignment. So please do it on the assignment area. Okay? Maybe you can click the word and you answer and then turn it in. Okay? On your assignment area. So thank you and good day. So have a nice day also. Be safe, class. Thank you.